The film Hidden Figures shows how bathroom breaks can not only break systematic racism, but also help America send a man into space. There are multiple racist borders that are broken down when Catherine Doble is able to use the same bathroom as the rest of the women.
Preferably closer to your desk. Here at NASA, we all pee the same color.
My name is Taylor Barnhart, and I'm analyzing the film Hidden Figures for my film class through Kansas State University. Hidden Figures was directed by Theodore Melfi, who has directed 4 movies in his career. His first movie was directed in 2014, which was St. Vincent. Then he directed Hidden Figures, which was released in 2016. After he filmed Hidden Figures, he directed Daughters, that was released in 2020. His most recent movie that he directed was The Starling, which was released in 2021. The film Hidden Figures tells the narrative of a group of African American women who work at Langley Aeronautical Laboratory in the early 1940s and overcoming the obstacles at this time. The film is based on a true story in West Virginia. The story focuses on 3 women, Catherine Goble, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson. Catherine Goble calculated the trajectories of John Glenn, who was the first American to orbit Earth. Dorothy Vaughan was NASA's first black woman supervisor, and Mary Jackson was the first black female engineer. This group of women play an important but barely recognized role in the development of aviation and technology. Although they were cramped in a small part of the basement, these women of color go further intellectually and socially than black women at this time. Throughout the film, these women face extreme discrimination for their race and their gender. The name of the film quite literally explains the message and the plot of the film. They are first hired in an all-colored unit as human computers where they do calculations for engineers with other black women. As they work for NASA, their jobs and responsibilities increase, and in the 60s, they worked alongside engineers in the Apollo mission that sent a man to the moon. The camera distance through long shots convey the lengths Catherine has to travel to fulfill the needs and responsibilities of being an African-American woman working in NASA. The long shots emphasize the isolation and disempowerment she faces while working with white men, but also show a sign of growth from NASA and her coworkers. The technique that I am analyzing in the film is called a long shot. A long shot is used to describe the actions of characters and provide information about the setting. They are mainly used to show the audience where the action takes place and helps the audience examine the character and their actions.
No more running.
This scene shows how Catherine has to walk over half a mile just to use the bathroom, and it spends that much time of her day that her boss even begins to notice. The use of long shot in the scene shows the physical hurdles that she has to go through just for basic necessities in her day-to-day while working at NASA. As stated as before, long shots are used to show the actions of the characters, and she's quite literally running against the clock to engineer and calculate one of the greatest achievements, but this use of the long shot is also to show the illogical hurdles that she has put through to succeed in NASA. In the beginning of the film, she is wasting precious time of running to the bathroom instead of being able to use the bathroom that the other white women have, and in the end of the day, it really is affecting America. But the thing that stood out to me the most is that the racism here didn't really feel malicious. It's just how the people were raised, and it's what they knew. This was normal to them. They knew that the bathrooms were going to be separate. They knew that the coffee that she drank was going to be separate, but they never did it to be malicious. Because throughout the movie, the characters were still likable. It was just how they were brought up. The use of these long shots of her running the bathroom really show how racism is systematic and so subtle in everyday life.
There's no bathroom for me here.
What do you mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away.
In this long shot, you can see that Catherine was so small in a full room of white men. The long shot really emphasizes how depowered she is in this situation. This long shot scene is really the scene that breaks the segregation down here at NASA. Her boss was so unaware of the segregation that he didn't know the physical hurdles that Catherine had to go through. Physical segregation is broken down because her boss begins to realize the physical hurdles that she has to go through, and he physically breaks down the sign of the colored ladies' bathroom. This is a really important turning point in the film because the people at NASA begin to realize how big this racism issue, but they also realize how little it affects nor does compare to getting people to space.
From where we want Colonel Glenn to land, if we assume that's the Bahamas, 544 miles per hour, 46.56 degrees, 2,990 miles. Okay. So that puts your landing zone at 5.0667 degrees north.
In this scene, Catherine is sitting at a table with all white men and is asked to complete a calculation in front of all of them by hand. The use of long shot in this scene is to show how belittled she is in these situations. The use of this long shot also shows the lengths that she has to go to be respected and how much harder she has to work to be respected by these men. But this long shot also shows NASA finally jumping over those hurdles and showing a sign of change. The men in the room and Catherine are shown at an equal level in the long shot. She is also complimented by one of the men in the end of this scene. The use of the long shot shows the growth of the men in NASA, but also the lengths that Catherine has had to travel in order to be respected. The use of long shots in this film show the drastic measures and lengths that Catherine has to face during her career at NASA. She not only has to jump through systematic and social hoops, but she also has to jump through illogical physical barriers to succeed. The long shots in this film also show NASA's growth to overcome their racism. Racism in this film was never directly malicious, but an effect of how these employees were raised and lived. By the end of the film, they come to realize that racism has no effect on sending a man to space, and if they want to succeed, then they need to overcome their misconceptions. The film Hidden Figures does an exceptional job at recognizing 3 women who play vital roles in the advancement of NASA and how our own biases can withstand success.